Hello, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Harbinger of Horror, and tonight I am bringing you something right out of the darkness. So get ready for Sentenced to Eternity, Part 2. Now turn off the lights and get ready.
I'm not sure my dad's human anymore after what I saw happen to him yesterday. It wouldn't make any sense. Granted, it was all my fault, but I never meant for anything like this to happen. I mean, he's not dead, but he should be. Hi, I'm Griffin, and I'm 15 years old. I've been living out in the woods with my dad and my uncle ever since I was born. We don't have internet. We don't have TV. Hell, we don't even have neighbors for like 40 miles in any direction. And the nearest neighbor is just a ranger station, not even occupied. Normally, this would be the start of a 15-year-old complaining. But I actually love it out here. We do all kinds of fun stuff. Hunting, fishing, farming, snowboarding, four-wheeling, hunting. Wait, did I say that already? Yeah, I really love hunting. But we're completely self-sufficient. We grow plenty of food, have tons of livestock, and we hunt anything else we want. Which brings me to my point. Turning 15, I have to go through the rite of passage to becoming a man. Which out here means I get to go on my first hunt. Alone. But not to worry. My dad's been showing me how to track since I was 10. Hell, he even let me take down a buck before. But I've never done more than just shoot him. And then after my dad would carry the deer back and him and my uncle would skin it, prep it, and get the meat ready for storage or cooking. Now, I have no idea how I'm going to carry a full deer. But my dad says, it doesn't have to be a deer. It can be something smaller, just as long as it's enough for a stew. Yeah, right. I'm not trying to bring home a squirrel or a rabbit. I'm trying to make him proud. We're going to go for a deer. Maybe something bigger. Waking up at the ass crack at dawn, in fact, way before the sun even came out, I creep outside, looking for any deer that just might be stupid enough to be close to the house. There are none. So I pluck some grass and let it fall, checking the direction of the wind. There's a slight breeze headed west, so I turn east and start walking down the path into the woods. After an hour of traversing the woods, the sun finally starts to show its face over the horizon. I come to a small hill with a nice overlook. Finding a comfy spot, I sit down, waiting. Beginning to listen for anything. Distant calls, moving bushes, basically anything but birds and squirrels. Hours go by, and I see nothing but this unusually massive skunk, like bigger than a medium-sized dog. Luckily, it didn't see me, so after it left, I got my ass moving. No more luck on the game trails than I had on the hill, but I did see that skunk again, so this time, I decided to make myself known. Hey skunky monkey. Yeah, I like your hairdo. After looking slightly surprised and what may have been a head nod, the skunk turned back to the trail and kept going, and I head nodded back, because why not? I'm like basically friends now. Nothing in the area showing signs of big game until I came upon a game trail with signs of recent usage. There was deer shit on the trail. Looked like coffee beans, so I followed it deeper into the mountainous terrain of the forest. After an hour's trudge up this path, weaving through cracks and crevices, I finally come to a 6-foot wide gap in a huge, nearly 100-foot tall sheer cliff. I walk through the gap, and it opens up to a huge valley with hundreds, maybe thousands of acres of forest, but it's completely surrounded on all sides by cliffs. No other visible exits, making this the only way in or out. Starting to fantasize about how easy this hunt is going to be, now all I have to do is camp here and wait for the animals to use this one single path. Snapping back to reality, I notice that the sun is about to touch the mountains in the west. So I decide to set up camp. Now, I don't want to be too close to the gap in the cliff, so I find a spot that's semi-hidden behind some boulders that would still allow me to remain unseen, but give me a direct line of sight to the gap. Laying down in a comfortable position with the family rifle, I cover myself up and get ready for nightfall. Looking through my small gap in the boulders, I stay steady, waiting for signs of anything, as the moon comes out with minimal cloud coverage, giving me just enough light to see. All I can hear is the sound of critters running around keeping busy. I try to keep my eyes open, but after staring at this gap and nothing happening for over an hour, I ended up passing out. Waking up in the early morning, still far before dawn, I start moving to wrap myself up a little bit more, and I feel something holding down the end of my blanket. I freeze, not knowing what the hell could have snuck up on me in the night. I begin to slowly turn my head, trying not to make any more noise, and it's that goddamn giant skunk. Dude, is this guy hunting me? Because he's basically got me trapped. I can't wake him up because it could scare him, and I can't move because it could wake him up. So, I mean, I'll just be here for a while. Slowly going back to concentrating on the gap, I begin to hear some noises, like loud noises. Rustling, twigs breaking, even a slight panting, all coming from the game trail that I followed up here. Look, I have no view in that direction, so as long as it doesn't come near me, I'm not going to be moving at all, because the only thing that's clumsy enough to break twigs in the woods is humans and bears. I'm straining my neck to see as far to that side as I can, and I bump into something furry and something warm. I slowly turn my head, and it's that giant-ass skunk laying next to me, apparently doing what I'm doing and trying to figure out what the hell is going on. He glances at me, and we lock eyes. The noise of this unknown thing breaking through the awkwardness of the staring contest, we both look back through the hole and see a massive grizzly lumbering into view. It's gotta be the biggest goddamn bear I've ever seen. I mean, we have black bears out here, but this is like 5 of them put together. Okay, this is what I'm gonna bring home. I have to follow, but not too close, because I cannot, for God's sakes, get attacked by this thing. I'm gonna have to shoot it quite a few times, so I'm gonna need a huge gap between us. I begin to stand, and then remember, there's a dog-sized skunk next to me. I stand up very slowly, and he meets my gaze. Hey, buddy, what are you gonna do? Spray me? He actually shook his head no. Okay, cool. So, I'm gonna go track that bear. You need to skedaddle. He nips at my boots in reply. Hey, calm down, man. Calm down. I'm still gonna go do that. He tries to nip again, but I step back before he can. Look, buddy, I'm becoming a man, and that bear's how I'm gonna do it. I want to make my dad proud, and what the fuck am I doing explaining myself to a skunk? And he replies with the skunk's best impression of puppy dog eyes? Right. Well, I'll see you around, Skunky Monkey. I head towards the gap in the cliff, making sure the bear wasn't smart enough to be doing what I was doing. Okay, thank God he wasn't. Coming out of the opening, I see there's a path going right down into the tree cover of the forest. Still only having moonlight to guide my steps, I don't want to be taking any chances. So I find a good spot right off the path to wait until dawn. The sun taking its sweet-ass time to come up. I definitely won't be able to see where it went now, so it's good old tracking time. Should be easy anyways. All the prints are fresh. Following the path into the woods, I begin the slow journey of catching up to this bear. A long, quiet walk later, and I'm deep in the woods, still following its tracks. No signs of it stopping. In fact, I haven't heard or seen any other animals all day long. Whatever. Should make this pretty easy. Continuing this journey of manhood through the whole damn day. The sun begins setting in the mountains, and even if I wanted to keep going, I couldn't. The tree coverage is so thick, I can't even see 10 feet in front of me, and if that bear decided to turn, I would lose the path entirely. So, to at least have a fighting chance, I decided to put my hammock like 20 feet in the air. Now listen, it's a myth that bears can't climb trees. Black bears are really, really good at it. Now grizzlies, on the other hand, they struggle a lot more. Let's just say they can and can't climb trees. So that gives me a fighting chance. I'll cut my hammock, Tarzan my way out of here, but let's take a moment together and pray that doesn't happen. Struggling into my hammock, making sure I don't fall and become a grizzly kebab, I wrap the top over myself, just in case I suddenly develop some kind of night twitching. Trying to fall asleep in the absence of wildlife is a lot more haunting than you would think. It's like even the sound of the wind in the trees is muffled. I mean, just listen. Look, I've been moving all day, and I really need to rest if I'm going to take this bear down. Waking up to a sudden noise, I make sure it's not me falling, and then I begin to listen. I hear loud, dull steps going around the forest floor, slow, almost methodical, as if it was trying to be quiet, but like really, really sucked at it. I can't move to look because the hammock will make that damn swooshing noise, so I sit, quiet, wishing I was invisible as the dull thuds get louder, weaving in and out of the trees, but definitely coming this way. I begin to hold my breath as I can hear it slowing down underneath me. Please, God, please, make it go away. As the noise continues, both of the trees my hammock is attached to begin to shake as if something large was shoving itself between them. The trees begin to crack from the stress of being forced apart, but before I have time to worry about them breaking, the trees whip back into place, launching my hammock around as I struggle to hold it close. Finally, it settles with me facing downward. Good thing I didn't piss myself, because it would probably find me pretty quick, but the noise continues around the area for more than an hour, and I sit praying to God whatever it is doesn't find me. Every now and then a giant black mass wanders into my view, taking its time searching around for me. Eventually, it heads back the way it came. I stay frozen in place till dawn, even like a full hour after the sun came up, slowly moving out of my hammock. I climb down cautiously, ready to run back up the tree if I have to, but luckily, I don't hear anything. It's just the same eerie quietness that's been haunting me since I came in here. Checking the ground for prints, and sure enough, it's littered with massive bear prints, covering almost every square foot, and to be honest, if I didn't hear it leaving, I definitely wouldn't be able to pick up this trail again. I begin following the most recent tracks, and look, I'm really hoping today is the day I take this down. I mean, it knows I'm in the area, and honestly, one way or another, I'm turning around by tonight. Picking wild berries as I go, maybe I can crush some of these up in a field, lure it out for a long shot from the tree line. The tracks take a sharp right turn as I'm daydreaming and head towards a rocky outcropping at the bottom of the cliffs surrounding the forest. The tracks go right up into the rocks, and with an easy half-mile from here to the cliff wall, I'm gonna have to try and bait this thing out. I mean, I can't track through rocks like that anyway. Heading up the outcropping quite a ways, I start smashing some granola bars and berries into a rock to try and help lure this thing out. Running down the hill, I find a good hiding spot, plenty far enough away for me to pop a few shots off. And now begins the waiting game. It was long. No sounds, no movement, absolutely nothing, all day long. You know, I'm really starting to miss Skunky. Night begins to fall, as do my hopes. Guess I'm just gonna have to bring back a regular-ass deer. I start to pack my things, and I turn to grab the last of my water when I begin to hear something coming over the top of the outcropping, rocks sliding and shifting. This bear is mine. I quickly get back into place and double-check that I'm loaded and ready. Turn the safety off and begin taking aim, waiting for this behemoth to come into view. Now, the food I left up there is only about 20 yards from the top, still about 150 yards from me, so this should give me enough time for like 4 or 5 shots. I can see its head poking over the ridge, and I begin drawing my sight at its throat, waiting for it to find the food. It slowly lumbers down, looking even bigger now up on the ridge. I double-check my rounds in the chamber. It sniffs around, looking, finding exactly where the food is, and begins eating. I exhale slowly, concentrating on only its throat, and looking into the scope, I see one pissed-off grizzly looking at me, dead in my eyes. I rack another round as it begins running towards me. What the hell's going on, man? Am I missing? It's not even flinching. I can't stop it. I drop my gun and start running, sprinting back into the forest, hoping the darkness will slow it down. I hear it hit the ground from the outcropping with a massive boom, only to be followed by loud, thunderous steps raging towards me. It's like a horrible dream. I'm running away, but it's still gaining on me. I keep sprinting with everything I have left, my lungs beginning to burn with outrage against the fear-panic breaths. Don't look back, just keep running. I fall forward with the sheer ferocity of the roar behind me. But right before going into a faceplant, I see a small blue spark in the darkness.
Don't touch my son!
What the fuck? Dad? A dark blur comes rocketing over me with so much speed the wind almost forces my head back down. I turn to see the blur making impact with the grizzly in the dead center of its face, making it completely stop in its tracks, even stumble back a little bit. I look around to see where my dad threw that thing from, but then I hear 2 boots hit the ground. Suddenly, Skunky and my uncle come running out of nowhere. My uncle grabs me by the back of my collar and drags me back behind the nearest tree, while Skunky runs toward the bear, growling and barking. The bear replies with a roar of its own, so loud I can feel it in my chest. Uncle, stop. We need to go help Dad.
Ho, why don't you sit your ass down? The only thing you're going to be doing is getting us in more trouble.
But Dad's going to get hurt. He could die.
How about you shut the hell up before that bear comes over here? Matter of fact, why don't you watch what you're making your daddy go through?
What?
That's right. Take a look.
I peek out from behind the tree with my uncle. The bear and Skunky are in a growling match while my dad is facing off with the bear.
Shut up. Shut up.
My dad's voice, cutting through the air with so much force it was echoing off of every tree, amplifying the sound instead of doling it out like God himself was commanding them. The bear was so caught off guard by this, it tripped mid-growl, cutting off its declaration of dominance. Skunky, scared out of his mind, immediately runs back to me and my uncle. What the fuck was that?
That was nothing. Just keep watching.
The bear, rearing back up, immediately begins sprinting forward, closing the short distance almost instantly, its mouth opening wide, aiming to put my dad's entire head in its mouth. My father doing nothing but just standing there, the mouth of the bear coming down with machine-like precision and speed. A mere moment before the bear's mouth engulfs my dad's head, it stops with a sickly wet thud. My dad had used the bear's momentum to ram a knife up through its lower jaw. The bear's eyes light up with pure rage, and it swipes at my dad. He steps back, trying to avoid the almost instant movement from the bear. Hearing the sound of clothes and flesh tear, I know he didn't move fast enough to dodge it, but without stopping, he continues turning around, running at the nearest tree, blood already dripping from his chest. The bear advancing with him as if it already knew what he was doing. My dad, getting to the tree, runs up 2, 3, 4 steps and backflips as the bear swipes at the tree, just barely missing. Landing on the back of the bear, my dad draws back a knife and rams it down onto his head. But the sound of metal breaking rings out like a death sentence. The bear rears back into the tree behind it, smashing him into the trunk with such force it shook the ground. Somehow my dad reaches out, grabbing the branch, and begins pulling himself up as the bear drops back down onto all fours. Atop the branch now, he keeps climbing. The bear, attempting to go after him, breaks every branch, flailing around trying to grab onto something to pull itself up. I watch as my uncle throws a 16-inch Bowie knife straight into the darkness of the tree. Without a second's delay, my dad comes rocketing down out of the tree, landing on its back, bearing the knife into its neck, twisting the blade before yanking it out and attempting again. Each attack he's done would have been deadly to any other bear, but he's only getting life-threatening wounds in return. The bear, losing its mind in blood rage, begins running at the massive tree, only to roll over and slam my dad into the trunk, sending a massive crack up the length of the tree. The bear rolls over slowly, wandering around a bit, having taken some of its own force, but regaining itself quickly as it begins to charge at my dad laying against the trunk. Barely able to move, he grabs the knife, looking as if he was death himself, staring down the charging bear. With the last few feet between them, he pulls up the blade, and with a blue spark in his eyes, he straightens his arm, and with the tree backing him, he disappears as the bear makes contact. It was as if the sound of thunder itself rang out from the very hit. The bear, rearing back, begins to raise its massive frame, my dad stumbling forward on the ground as it does, the blade nowhere in sight in his arm, even more bloody than before. The bear roars in triumph as it opens its mouth to finish him, coming down to bite him. Its legs give out, hitting the ground with a massive, dull thud. A wet red hole about the size of a large bicep left in its fur beside the shoulder, a little bit above the collarbone. My dad barely moving as my uncle runs over to help him.
My God, you crazy son of a bitch. What do you need me to do? I'm gonna need you to carry me back, Darryl. Just like the good old times. I got you, Badger boy.
My uncle picks up my dad as easy as picking up a child and gently puts him over his shoulders as he walks back towards me, still frozen in sheer terror, not having moved an inch. I feel Skunky nudge me from behind.
You know, this little dumpster squirrel's the one who came and got us. Led us straight to you. Better than a tracking dog, if you ask me.
Really? Thanks, Skunky. He jumps on me, knocking me down, and begins licking me. Okay, little buddy, I get it. I begin to thank my dad for saving me, but he's already passed out.
Yeah, he'll be fine in a day or two.
What, are you kidding me?
Oh, hell, it wasn't that. That wasn't like the biggest bear in the... You know what? He's been through worse.
I don't think anyone could have been through anything worse. Being slashed with claws 6 inches long, so deep I can see his bones, getting smashed in a tree so hard it cracks.
Oh, well, that's easy. The answer is, how about you shut the hell up? It's a day's walk back, and your dad needs to sleep.
Sleep? Looks like he's dead.
Shut up.
Waking up the next day after getting home, I run to check on my dad, even though it's early. I bust through the door, seeing that no one's there. The bed's made and empty. I run outside to find my dad and my uncle loading the tractors in the early dawn light. My dad completely fine. My uncle winks at me. Hey, Dad, what the fuck is going on?
Watch your mouth. And what do you mean?
Sorry. None of what happened the other day makes any sense. I mean, you can't live through something.
Look, you were too far away from the fight to see any real detail. I didn't get hurt too bad. I was just tired out is all.
Dad, you can't just explain away something like that.
How about you get started on your chores for the day?
Yes, sir. I head back to the house to start vacuuming and dusting. Going to the closet, I have an idea. You know, my dad and uncle are going to be gone for a couple of hours. Maybe I can find something in the house about this. I take the vacuum into my dad's room and plug it in, just in case he comes back early, and begin searching through all the cabinets, drawers, and closets to find nothing but some whitey-tighties. Finishing my chores, I go room to room, searching every nook and cranny for anything remotely useful. Not a damn thing. Man, what the hell is going on here? I give up and go to the barn to start milking the cows. Seeing Skunky on my way, hey, little buddy, you want some milk? He nods yes. Following me to the barn, I pat good old Bessie, our oldest cow. What a fine lady. I give Skunky a bowl of his own fresh milk before I start, and he happily drinks it as fast as he can. The cow's not taking me too long this morning. I wander around the barn with my extra time, seeing if anything happens to stick out. Skunky following me around like a giant puppy while I search. I turn to look at him. Better than a tracking dog, you say? Hey, Skunky, if I give you something, I mean, even if it's like really, really old, can you still track the smell? He nods happily. Perfect. I run in the house and bring back the one thing my dad still has from my mother. Her ring. I let Skunky sniff it. He takes a deep whiff, and then slowly sticks out his tongue and licks it. What? He takes off running towards the back of the barn. I run after him, following close. Running through the doors, he darts over to the far back corner behind our broken tractors. Struggling to keep up, I finally catch him, and he's standing there, looking at the floor. Hey, buddy, what are you doing? He turns around and sweeps his tail across the floor as I begin to make out some sort of pattern. Is that diamond plate steel? Clearing it off even more, I see it's a hatch. You know, I can probably pry this off. I run to grab a crowbar and begin to shove it in the crack on the side, putting all my weight into it. It slowly begins to rise up out of the frame. I shove a screwdriver in to get repositioned and slowly begin to get the rest of it off, seeing that its stairs going down like 20 feet to it. Is that a door? I slowly creep down the stairs, finally making it to the bottom with Skunky close behind. The door has a pad next to it, but there aren't any numbers or anything. It's just a stainless steel cover with a small screen and a little square indent, only as big as an eraser on a pencil. I look at Skunky when he comes up next to me. Do you know what this is? He sniffs it and pauses, then begins sniffing my pocket and nudging my leg. I stick my hand in my pocket and pull out my mother's ring. I look at it, and the diamond seems to be just about the right size. I stick it in and turn it. The screen lights up green, and I hear metal turning as the rush of air hits me. The door begins to open. The lights come on automatically, showing the size of this room, the sheer scale of this military bunker. There's thick concrete walls, tall ceilings going on for at least 100 yards, and it's filled with all kinds of stuff. One area has a super nice old truck with a bunch of military-looking stuff on the wall. There's guns, armor, and some other stuff that looks like watches and like 3 buttons. Another area has, I guess these would be asteroids. There's like a huge collection of them. There's red, blue, green, purple, orange. There's even a pink one at the end. Oh, but these ones encased in glass are glowing in a really weird way. Moving even farther, there's an old plane, an even older car, and then I guess that's a horse and buggy? Then on the wall behind it, it continues. A bunch of old 6-shooters, a lever-action rifle, a musket, a really old curved sword, and then this huge 2-handed hammer. And the last thing was this wooden staff. It was more like a branch. I wander over to the military-looking stuff by the entrance and begin to take a closer look, but I hear the deep roar of a heavy diesel tractor. I sprint over to the door, shoving my mom's ring in the slot. Skunky comes running out, and I turn the ring. The door springs to life and begins to close a lot faster than it opened. I bound up the stairs on all fours just behind Skunky. Throwing my back against the nearest tractor, I slowly slide the huge cover. The roar of the tractor almost in the barn. The metal slides into place, and I jump up, moving quickly out the back and around the side of the barn. I hear my dad and uncle pulling in. I run to the front, waiting just a moment to make it seem like I was coming from the house. Hey, Dad. Hey, Uncle. How was it?
It was wonderful. Oh, so amazing. Don't be a liar. It's hotter than Satan's office out there.
My dad flashes my uncle a quick look before heading it just a bit too slow.
Yes, it was wonderful. Oh, so amazing.
Right.
Did you finish your chores?
Almost. I just had 2 more in the house left.
Alright, get those finished, and then you can go on that trail you were talking about the other day, just as long as you're back by dark.
Awesome, thanks, Dad.
Now go home, get out of here.
I go running back to the house. Thank God they bought it. Now, what the shit is going on? I'm gonna have to sneak back in there again tonight. There's so much to look through. I get back to the barn after finishing my chores, and my dad and uncle are fixing up one of the old tractors. I grab my ATV and head out to the trails for the rest of the day to waste my time until I can get back in there. Finishing dinner, everyone finally goes to their rooms for the night. Usually, my dad passes out pretty quick. Now my uncle, he lives on the other side of the house, so he's not even going to hear me. Waiting about an hour, with Skunky on my bed resting, I proceed to check if the coast is clear. No noises from my dad's room, but I can still hear my uncle doing something on his side of the house. He usually stays up pretty late, so using the noise as cover, I slide the window open and sneak out with Skunky following behind. Heading to the barn, I make sure and stay hidden, because I'm going to need as much time as possible to get this done. I have about 7 hours before they get up and start working, so it should be plenty of time. Getting to the back of the barn, I creep around the old tractors and find the hatch. Cranking it open again, I move down the stairs and pull out the ring. Turning it in the hole, and the door comes open, but the lights don't come on. A figure coming forward out of the darkness. Quick, gas him, Skunky. He turns around, ready to fire when I hear,
You better plug that butt, Skunky, unless you want to become a hat.
Uncle?
No, it's Santa Claus. Yes, it's me.
How did you know?
Look, kid, you may be able to track, but you can't cover your tracks for shit. You're total ass at it, okay? What are you doing down here anyway?
Look, Uncle, I just want to know what the hell is going on.
All right, look, kid, if you're not going to stop, I guess I can answer a few questions.
Perfect. So what the hell is going on with all this stuff down here? This military gear, planes, asteroids, guns.
Don't forget about the truck.
What?
Never mind. Look, sit down, boy. I got a story for you. I met your father nearly 35 years ago when I was on a mission with this old paramilitary group. Well, he was actually the target of our mission.
Wait, were you hunting him?
Long story short, I got him to work with us, and it was me and him, a two-man team. We were the best of the best. In fact, that's where he met your mother.
Wait, what happened to her?
That's something I can't answer for you, but I can tell you, your dad fought for her. Not even Satan himself could have stopped him. He wasn't there then, but you get my point.
Wait, what?
So we ended up leaving that military organization and made a deal for this land, and we've been living here ever since.
Why do I get the idea that you glazed over, a lot of information? Whatever, I'll take what I can get. Now, what's going on with Dad?
Oh boy, that's a loaded question. Look, I'm still not 100% sure, and to be honest, I never cared to ask. But I can tell you, I have seen your dad in worse fights by far, and even worse condition, but it never fails. After 2 days, your dad is always perfectly fine. In fact, he still looks the same as the day I met him.
What the hell?
Look, the last thing, do you know your father's real name?
Well, yeah, it's Jim.
No, that's the name he picked. When I was sent on that mission to, get your dad to join the military, I introduced myself first as a sign of respect. And he told me his name was Toby.
Dad?
My lord, I did not know where that story was headed, and then I thought it was over. It kept going, and then another story added itself into this story. My God, was that wonderful. But never forget, I'm always as close as the darkest shadow. Man, I gotta go watch Screams in the Holla Part 1, 2, and 3.